Recruiting and retaining female service members is essential for our military readiness and national security. Yet women are more likely to leave service than their male peers, given frustrations with family planning, gender bias, and discrimination, not to mention sexual assault and sexual harassment. And now, following the disastrous Dobbs decision that has created fear, chaos, and confusion all across the country, service members' reproductive and healthcare rights have become dependent on their duty station. Last week, the RAND Corporation published a report indicating that 40% of female service members no longer have access to or have severely restricted access to abortion services where they are stationed. This will not only harm individual service members, but will likely have staggering impacts on our ability to recruit and retain women. In June, I sent a letter to Secretary Austin urging DoD to support and protect female service members seeking reproductive services. I'd like to ask Ms. Miller, General Miller.
Ms. Miller, you want?
Okay, General Miller.
General Miller's Air Force.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Either one of you, frankly, or any of you, hasn't the Supreme Court's decision made it even more challenging to recruit and retain women?
Thank you for that question, ma'am. Secretary Austin has made clear that the health and well-being of service members and their families is a top priority, and that includes the access to reproductive care. And so we agree that while technically the rules governing access to covered versus non-covered abortion care was not necessarily affected by the outcome of the Supreme Court decision, we do recognize that the outcome may make it more difficult for service members to electively choose a non-covered abortion, and it could make it more difficult to travel and they may incur additional expenses. And so we are committed to taking a look at the full range of our current authorities and policies and make sure that we're providing information and support where appropriate.
I think this is a real concern because you have service members who are serving in states such as Alabama, Tennessee. There's a whole, number of basically southern states where they would have to travel a long ways in order to get reproductive or abortion services. So I would like to know what the Department of Defense plans to do to enable the service members to get the care and the services that they need in the reproductive area. So that's just, let me just put it out there. For Ms. Miller, one of the top reasons service members, particularly women, choose not to join, remain, or leave the armed forces is the impact military service has on family planning. And across the U.S. and around the world, egg freezing and in vitro fertilization are commonly used for individuals who wish to have children in the future, but for personal, professional reasons, they delay. In July, I called on DoD to study the impact and costs of offering cryopreservation to service members, something that I understand the Great Britain does provide these kinds of options. So, Ms. Miller, would covering the cost of cryopreservation under TRICARE be something the department could consider to improve retention rates?
Ma'am, I think that's a good question. Unfortunately, I am not our subject matter expert per se in that area, although I know that our health affairs colleagues continue to look at that possibility, and I commit to you that we will take that question for the record and provide a follow-up.
Thank you very much. One more thing. I heard, I think it's Dr. Strobe, talk about the importance of having access to high schools. All of you are really engaging in recruiting at a much younger age. And so for high schools, there was a report in the New York Times that there were 33 cases of instructor misconduct in the junior ROTC program. And how are you going to address this kind of misconduct? Well, you talk about wanting access to high schools, but that's not going to work very well if your instructors are engaging in sexual harassment, other kinds of misconduct. So are you aware of the problem? And this is for Dr. Stroop, since you mentioned wanting access. So how will you demonstrate that the recruiters and military personnel can be trustworthy?
Senator, thank you for that question, and I share your concern in this area. We have implemented enhanced training of all of our Marines from even before they enlist, all the way up until the general officer level, to ensure that they understand the zero tolerance policy for sexual assault and sexual harassment. Even before the Independent Review Commission recommendations, the Marine Corps moved out in FY22 by nearly doubling its budget for sexual assault prevention training, response coordinators, victim advocates, and prevention coordinators. We are in the process of hiring 120 of these types of skills to distribute around the Marine Corps to get after this problem. Then there's the Independent Review Commission. We support all 82 of the recommendations of the commission, and we are committed to spending $560 million to hire and train 826 prevention response coordinators and behavioral health experts to help us eradicate sexual assault and sexual harassment.
Is this an issue, Madam Chairman, if I may, are the other services also paying attention to this kind of problem behavior in your junior ROTC programs? Air Force?
Yeah, yes, we are, absolutely. In fact, before the IRC report, we actually had a substantial preventive workforce organization. And so with the recommendations from the IRC, we are implementing them across the service. We also just started a pilot program at 7 different installations right now in which we are co-locating all of the helping services for victims. What we want to do, and we've got it on in the area of those installations in which the victims can go there, and it's not, not everybody will know why they're going there, so it provides them privacy. I will also say, on the particular case in which you're talking about, or the article that was in the New York Times on the junior ROTC, I mean, sexual assault is a crime. I mean, it is a crime, and we take it very seriously. We are actually looking to expand Guard and Reserve into the junior ROTC programs as an initiative to make sure that there's a little bit more oversight. Right now, the junior ROTC programs across the United States are vast, and there's only about 7 different regional folks that actually monitor them. There's a requirement that they're supposed to be assessed in person in the institution once a year, but right now there's not enough individuals to do that. So we're looking at all of those avenues from the Air Force perspective, ma'am.